Welcome back to the Move Better channel. I am your host, Dr. Joe, and this is the Professor John Penacerrada. Today, we're going to be talking about feet and what you need to do in order to improve your circulation. Let's go. With feet, there's so many different nerve endings around the foot, around the ankle complex that will allow you to communicate with the ground, with the floor, as you walk, as you move. And a lot of the times, 99% of the time, everybody's wearing shoes. And even in their homes, they're wearing house shoes, they're wearing some type of slippers, flip-flops, Crocs, whatever it is inside the home. And we're not gaining the communication with the floor like we should be. Even babies nowadays, even kids are wearing shoes too early, and they're cramping their foot. You know, there's a lot of influencers out there nowadays with fitness that are talking about how you should be taking the shoe off. They're starting to get into more minimalist shoes, and they're starting to get into more about utilizing your toes and your foot to be able to communicate with the floor a lot better. So we're on the right track of things that we need to do in order to get people to communicate with the floor a little bit more. But what happens when you start to feel the pains, the growing pains of taking your shoe away from you, taking your protective footwear away from you? Well, you're going to start dealing with some growing pains. You might be dealing with some injuries. You don't want to be going too far, too fast without shoes, excuse me. And what we want to do today is try to give you some help in what you can do to improve your circulation. Decrease the pain that you might be dealing with when it comes to minimalist shoes or are trying to communicate with the floor.
Yeah,
right?
Especially when there's been a lot of people doing barefoot training nowadays, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes they can transition from wearing the shoes when they're training to all of a sudden, boom, barefoot. I think there needs to be a relearning as far as getting to that type of training.
Just like anything.
Just like anything. And so, I mean, walking barefoot around the house is probably going to be one way of doing it.
It's a start for sure.
It's a good start.
There's some things that we do here in the office is we look at the assessment, right? We look at how the hip is driving the foot and how the foot is helping with your walking patterns, right? Sometimes you might hear people walking around the house and you hear them pounding their foot, or if you live in an apartment and you hear people walking up and down or around upstairs and you're hearing them they're heel walkers, right? You hear boom, boom, these big sounds. You know, what's allowing that to happen? And a lot of times it's the soft shoe that you end up utilizing, that your heel can't feel the floor.
Right.
So it starts to press harder and harder into the ground.
Yeah.
So let's get into some of the tools that you guys can utilize at home. Take your shoes off, take your socks off, grab some lotion, whatever it is that you need, and get it going. And you're going to start feeling the love with your feet. And just a lot of people don't grab their foot enough. Putting your foot up on the couch, sitting on the floor, and just simply start by gripping your foot. All right. It's not going to feel as good as somebody else massaging it. But again, the whole purpose right now is you really getting into the nooks and crannies of your own toes, of your own foot. And from here, we start with the toes. And all you're going to simply do is you're going to push on that big toe and you're just going to stretch it out. Notice what I just did right there. I get right on the ball of the foot and I'm just going to push down and lift that big toe up. All right. And as I'm doing that, I'm stretching all of the tissues underneath. I'm allowing the plantar fascia to tighten up right over here. And this big toe mobility, or this big toe flexibility, when we try to lift that up, a lot of people have lost that movement already. And so we want to just try to get these tissues to remember to react to our movement again. And again, it's just like doing, having somebody doing some passive stretching on you. You're going to do this stuff on your own. Now I'm just going to go ahead and grab the next toe, and notice what I'm doing. I'm just kind of hooking it, and I'm lifting up and stretching. right? Almost like I'm giving the middle finger here with the big toe. And I'm pushing that up. And then again, I'm doing this on the
Next one.
the third toe as I'm lifting up right over here. Really, guys, you guys should be doing this in front of the TV instead of just kind of hanging out. I mean, a lot of the mobility and flexibility things that I do is hanging out in front of the TV and watching and hanging and relaxing. But I'm also, trying to get some mobilization, trying to get some flexibility within my foot, within my legs, my upper back, my lower back. And instead of me being just completely dead and lazy, this is what I'll do. So I got all 5 of those fingers right there, or the 5 of the toes. Now I'm going to get into the ball of the plantar fascia. So I'm going to push right into the arch of the foot, and I'm just going to start. Notice how I'm just pushing away. A lot of people think that with circulation, I got to push blood back to my heart. There's a lot of truth behind that, but simply put, if I'm just squeezing my foot here and I'm just massaging that up and I'm going back and forth, any type of squeezing is going to allow for the veins to push blood back to the heart. The arteries are always going to be pushing blood down into my foot, and the veins, they don't really have a neurological pump system. Yeah. It actually, the blood flow pushes back up. Yep. And so when you get your foot, you're just trying to do whatever you can, and you don't have to have an external apparatus like a ball. In other videos, we utilize lacrosse balls, we utilize foam rollers. Just use your hands. Forget about all of that and just start stretching your toes out, spreading them apart, and trying to get in between each toe and trying to open up your toes as much as possible. I mean, how much movement do we normally get with all of those, especially when they're so cramped up within shoes?
One thing I did notice, if you don't need to zoom in on my foot, you can do it on that. But when you flex, when you stretch it out, the arch of your foot actually gets a little more, it insinuates it, right? Yeah. Or like it magnifies the arch. And those people that have like arch issues, this is a good way to kind of get that to really mobilize a little bit more and get the arch back.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people, they always say, I have a collapsed arch, so they utilize external apparatuses. Right. Like orthotics, right? Yeah. I have to have orthotics. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you could just simply start strengthening your foot and stretching your foot out, and you'll start developing those tissues to start lifting that arch again. And simply put, if you look at the way the muscles work, if I push off my toes correctly without the utilization of shoes, you'll start to see that arch start to build. And those are the things that you want to do when you start using your foot. Now, I just did passive mobilization. I just did passive circulation to it. You want to try to utilize those movements now and try to gain access to as much as you can. One of the things that we utilize with our massage therapist is we say, hey, now that you've accessed movement, you hear all the time, go home, go to sleep, relax, rest, don't move, drink some water. In our case, we go, why? Access movement. You've accessed the movement from the massage, take advantage of it. And that's something that you want to do after you massage your feet. After you do it, use your toes. What we call piano toes. And in this case here, piano toes is trying to get every single toe to touch the floor, and you're utilizing them like a piano. You're looking disgusted right now.
I just noticed you got a pedicure. Look at you.
I did get a pedicure.
Fancy.
First time ever I got a pedicure.
His toenails are all shiny, guys.
My toes got a little bit of a gloss on it now. Make sure you guys play with your feet, massage your feet, spread your toes apart, give your feet some love, and they will return the favor. I promise you guys that.
I'm going to shout out to all the Filipinos out there that grab stuff on the floor with their toes.
They know. They know how to pinch people. Man. Imagine that going on your ear.
Oh. Now you're going for it.
I know Lola. John! Anyways, thanks again for joining us, you guys. Make sure you comment, like, share with all your friends. about how to treat your feet.
High five, high five. We out.
Thanks, you guys.